Okay, so this is part one of how to perform an independent T test. So for an independent T test, I've got two columns of data, group A and group B. So they're both from completely independent groups. I've already worked out the average and the standard deviations for the groups, and they're just down the bottom there. Now, with an independent T test, before you run the T test, you have to perform a separate test. That's to check that the standard deviations of the two groups are the same. The actual test that we do is called an F test, and that is looking for the equality of variance. So what we need to decide is there a significant difference in the equality of the variance between the two groups? That is, in this particular case, does the standard deviation of group 1 significantly deviate from the standard deviation of group 2? Okay, so what we're going to do is, to start off with, we need to, as usual, go and open our data analysis tab. So at the top of the screen we click data, and over on the far right we click data analysis. That brings up our list of tests, and we select the F test to sample. We click OK, and that brings up the box. Now this box is asking us obviously for the two columns of data, variable 1 and variable 2. So we click the little red arrow of variable 1 and we highlight the data for group A. Press enter to return. We then, under variable 2, push the red arrow and we highlight group B. Back we go. Alpha stays at 0.05, and again we can select, just like with any sort of test that we do, we can select whether we want the answer in a new worksheet or if we want to do an output range. So we click the little red arrow and we select a box for the answer. Push enter and enter again. Okay, so here is our results table. Again, it's worked out the means and the standard deviations, which you can see are fairly similar to the ones that I've got. Now over here you'll see we've got one p-value, so it's really easy to do. There's our p-value. I'm going to highlight it just in case you can't see it. So the p-value in this particular case is 0.14. Now we should be aware by this stage that in order for something to be significant, the p-value needs to be less than 0.05. So in this particular case, our number, which is 0.14, is not less than 0.05. Therefore there's no significant difference. So I always like to write that underneath so we're quite sure what we mean. So, no significant difference in variance. Okay, so if there's no significant difference in variance, we can assume that we have equal variance. So there's no difference in the variance, therefore they're equal. Okay, now that we know whether it's equal or unequal variance, we can now select the right t-test. That will be in part 2.